The serve in tennis is often called the most important shot in the game, and I agree completely because it's the shot that sets the foundation for everything else that's going to happen in the point. From moving your opponent to attacking to defending to moving to the net, all of that's going to be determined by the way that you serve and how your opponent responds. In today's video, we're going to be going over the ins and outs of having a clean serve that you can learn really quickly. Welcome to today's Tennis 101, where we're going over serves. Now, the first thing to note when you're learning to serve is that it is the most subjective skill you're going to learn. From how high you toss to how fast you swing, how much you twist your body and all of that stuff, it's going to be completely up to you to determine what's comfortable for your body type, your age, your athletic ability, and that's one of the best things about it. All the other strokes are going to be made in response to what your opponent does to you, but a serve is 100% in your control. So take your time learning this skill and do all the adjustments that you need in order to make it better for you. Let's get started with breaking them into three parts. Now, when you're learning to serve, you're going to have three main components. It is the toss, the load, and the release. Other coaches are going to call it a bunch of other stuff, but it's still broken into those three categories. Tossing is obviously how you release the ball to get it into the position you need to hit it. The load is going to be what you do to get your racket and body prepared to swing. And then the release is going to be what you do from that loaded position to the ball and then through it. I'm going to teach it to you in something that's actually going to feel like it's out of order, but when I circle back around, it'll make sense. So what we're going to start with is actually the load. Here's how we're going to work those details in. So when we look at the load is going to be broken down into our upper half of our body and our lower half of the body. The load in the upper half of the body is the thing I'm actually the most concerned about when people start. You want to make sure that when you're loading your racket in order to be ready to swing, you keep your palm down. And there's a safety reason for that. A lot of people, when they learn, they have bad grips or whatever it is, and then what they end up doing is they open up their palm toward the ceiling, and what happens is that puts an impingement on your shoulder, and when you start trying to generate more speed and more acceleration, you can end up hurting yourself. So at the very beginning of learning to serve, focus on keeping your palm down and keeping your elbow and palm in unison with however you decide to move. So what we're gonna do, I'm going to teach you guys how to serve in a continental grip because I believe that's the grip that's the most effective. If you don't know what a continental grip is, I did a whole video on that, and you can check that out as well. So starting with a continental grip, we're going to look to whatever we do, we're going to end up with our racket somewhere behind us with our palm still facing down. Now you can do that from here, bringing one arm up and your arm all the way to here. You can do that where you bring it straight across your body. I've seen people that put their racket up here first and then come down into this position. But no matter what, we want to make sure that our palm ends in a palm down position and our elbow level or lower than our shoulder. Very rarely do you see anybody successfully serving with their arm up here. So we're going to try to keep our shoulder and elbow out of line where the elbow drops below the shoulder, which also makes it easier to keep the palm down. Now, with the lower body, first thing, you want to get your body angled just off of perpendicular to the court. So if I'm looking at you, I don't want to be facing straight on. I also don't really want to be like in this half angle. I want to be 90 degrees or more before I start anything. That's going to allow me to load my lower body. Now, some people are going to have impingements because of back issues or knee issues or anything like that. But the main thing is going to be starting here makes it easier to come around and get the motion done. So from this position, you can do more if you need to, but this is going to be about the minimum that I'd like to see. So going from having a palm into this position, getting it down. As our arm goes up, because we would be tossing, you're going to have your arm go up, which is going to help you start to twist your body if you're capable. If not, you're just going to stay sideways. But at this point here, this is where the subjectivity comes in. How far do you want to go? How far are you capable of going? And how much do you want to bend your knees at the same time? That's all that goes into the load. Just start with that continental grip so that you'll have access to all the serves. And then bring your arm up and end here. No matter how you get there, end in this position, which is going to allow you to track your shoulder blades safely without putting any impingement on your body. Moving on to step 3. So step 3 is our release. Now going from our loaded position, whatever it is that you've decided to put it in, I'm just going to give us a standard one. I'm just going to do everything that I said. Going from this loaded position, whether it's bent or not, the first thing I want you guys to pay attention to is leading your swing with your elbow, not the racket. Leading with the racket's going to start to put us into that compromised hand position again. So if I'm set in this position, the first thing that's going to move is my elbow. Moving my elbow forward is going to allow my palm to still stay down slightly. Whereas if I try to move my racket first, you'll tend to see the racket open up. And then again, that puts that stress on that shoulder. So from here, driving that elbow towards the ball first puts that racket down behind you, allows the shoulder blade to track properly. And then from there, let me back away from the camera a little bit. And then from there, it's going to feel just like we're trying to throw the racket away from us, and we're going to reach up. Now, the big thing you want to make sure that you do here, and this is why I said I'm teaching these in this order, you're going to need to decide what type of serve it is that you're working on. If you're hitting a flat serve, your goal is going to be to arrive to the ball with your racket straight. If you're hitting a slice serve, your goal is going to be to arrive to the ball with your racket tilted slightly and a little bit more away from you. If you're hitting a topspin serve, your goal is going to be to arrive to the ball with your racket at this angle because you're pushing up. So no matter which one it is that you're doing, you have to be very clear on what you're working on, because that's going to determine where and how you release your racket. Now, the thing I want you guys to pay attention to at this part here is everything that you stored up in that load needs to be released on the upward part of the swing. A lot of people, when they're learning to serve, they think about the fact that the service box is on the floor and they try to get the ball down into the box. The problem is there's a net in between you, and most people are not physically capable of serving down technically. You can serve down if you're tall enough, but that's a very few amount of people. All, or not all, most people are under the line of what makes you physically capable of serving down. So that's why the general rule is to serve up through your serve, whether it's flat, slice, or a kick serve. So moving on to step one, we're going to put all this stuff together. So now that we've determined what loaded position we want to be in and what our release is going to be, meaning whether we're going to hit a flat serve, slice serve, or kick serve, then we circle all the way back around to the beginning and we do a toss that matches all those other things. So if I want to hit a slice serve, which is going to mean that I would hit the ball where it swings from the right side of the court to the left side of the court because it's spinning, I need to have a toss that matches where my body is going to load and where my release point is planned on being. And if my toss doesn't match, I know that I shouldn't hit it. So my release point needs to be that I'm striking the ball here out of line with my shoulder, and whereas a flat serve would be here. And you can see that there's a difference in where those two spots are. And if I'm not tossing the ball in that spot, I should know that and then not hit the ball, because then I'm just giving up control over the shot. So if I toss it up and I try to line it up for a slice serve, all I have to do is then follow through the natural mechanics of what we've already talked about at step 2 and step 3, and then everything should line up. And then if I toss the ball for a flat serve, I should put the ball here, which lines right up with my shoulder. And as a result, I can hit a flat serve that goes straight through the court because my toss matches the body mechanics that we've already worked on. Now, your contact point on the 3 different serves from this angle are your flat serve, you're going to want to be pretty much tall and straight up here. Your slice serve, you're going to be on the side of the ball a little bit. And your kick serve, you're going to be here and lower so that you have room to extend up. No matter which one it is that you want to work on, you have to make sure that you've practiced how your body works naturally and how your body releases naturally so that you can then put tosses in those places to match. The last thing I'm going to talk about is just something that is a little unimportant by comparison, but if I don't talk about it, then we can't say that, you can say that I've skipped it. So here's the last thing before we close it up. There are different ways to move your feet once you serve, but we break them into 3 different categories. You've got a platform serve, which is keeping your feet in this position, bending and then swinging and releasing. You've got a pinpoint serve, which is starting in this position but then bringing your feet together and then serving. And then you've got what's called a narrow platform, which is kind of a blend of the two, where instead of dragging your foot into this position, we start in this position, go through our motion, and then go through the serve. Now, all of those things are completely acceptable. There is nothing that says one is inherently better than the other. It all depends on what you want to do for getting the momentum and getting the body to match. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you know anybody would benefit from this stuff, please send it off to them. Like I said, the serve is very subjective. You can play around with it, make your tosses higher or lower. You can rotate more or less. There's a lot of things to play around with to make the serve feel perfectly for you. As I said, if you know anybody that would benefit from this stuff or needs to work on their serve and doesn't quite have the understanding, send this off to them. Thank you for tuning in to today's Tennis 101. I'll see you guys in the next one.